Let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. My name is Nagendra Vedula. I am the Group Program Manager of the Operations Manager and the Operations Management Suite set of products. I work in the System Center division, System Center group as a part of the Enterprise and Cloud division. I've been at Microsoft for about 18 years now in various capacities in different groups across the company. I have with me Richard Rundle, who will be assisting me with this presentation. As far as agenda goes for this session, I wanted to just talk very briefly about the shifting landscape that is at play in the industry and give you sort of a preamble as System Center strategy overall before we dive into what it means to be in the realm of modern monitoring and so on. So I'll just very quickly go through that, and then we'll get to the meat of the presentation. This presentation will be very, very demo heavy, and it will be very focused on all the investments that we've been making and are about to make in the operations management product, in the operations manager product, and the OMS suite, and so on. What does modern management mean in this day and age? This is all about organizations that are doing a whole range of different things than they've been doing historically in the past. There's a lot more attention being paid to migrations to the cloud, whether they are in the private, hybrid, or the public cloud infrastructures. Management as a service is a key aspect of the management solution that needs to exist across cloud boundaries. Deep insights into data and all the analysis that needs to happen as a result of all the things that are happening across all these clouds that we have. And also the coming up of microservices and containers. These are all shifts that are occurring as we speak in the industry today. As we look at that and what Microsoft is doing to help support these shifts and so on, let's just look back. Historically, we've seen the enterprise desktop. There have been fundamental shifts that have been happening in the industry. Lots of server proliferation, workload virtualization, the private cloud, the hybrid cloud, the public cloud, and so on. And as we evolve into this world of modern management across all these domains, we have to evolve our products as well in order to match those shifting things that are happening in the industry. So from a System Center standpoint, historically, System Center has always been, restricted to the private cloud infrastructure when you look at 2012 and those releases and so on. So 2010, and then with 2012, we did some things with respect to hybrid. And then as we go forward, you'll see more and more investments being made into our products that span all the different cloud boundaries across the federation of clouds that exist. Private, hybrid, as well as public cloud infrastructures. So management, which was restricted to specific areas, has to branch out across all these different domains that exist. So you have System Center for the data center, and that you all know and love. You use products like Operations Manager, Virtual Machine Manager, Service Manager, Data Protection Manager. I know I'm forgetting something. So the suite, Orchestrator, yes, and the suite of System Center products that exist today. In order to evolve to these shifting landscapes and these notions of customers that want to move over a period of time, whether they're going to move at a glacier pace or they're going to move rapidly, the management solution from Microsoft needs to adapt to what the customer needs are. So I'm here to tell you a few things. The System Center suite of products will continue to be innovated upon, as you have seen over the past few years. We're also going to make fundamental investments in management services that are born in the cloud. And that is essential to what you've seen in the keynote and a whole range of other sessions regarding the operations management suite. How many of you have seen that in the keynote and have attended those sessions? So that is sort of our System Center's foray into building a set of cloud services that address the space of log analytics, automation services for the cloud, disaster recovery, as well as backup services. So that's, in a nutshell, what OMS is today. You'll continue to see innovations on top of that suite as we go forward. The other big thing as we evolve is to be the best-in-class management set of tools with respect to System Center and our OMS suite. So in order to facilitate that, we're going to grossly expand our the features and the feature set that we build to cater to heterogeneous infrastructures that exist in customer environments today. And we're going to do things that are very, very open from a platform perspective. And we will learn from what we build in the cloud and also bring those back into our traditional data center assets. So in order to support this, we have to change the way we release our products and the cadence at which we release them as well. So what you see is a depiction of what we've been doing over the past few years. In 2015, here we are at Ignite making some announcements. I'm here to tell you that you will see a System Center 2016 that will get released sometime towards mid of 2016. You will also see that we will make continuous investments into our quarterly updates that we have been doing for System Center 2012 R2 on a quarterly cycle. And today we're going to show you a few of the features that we have invested in on top of Operations Manager, etc., in our update rollups. And you'll see that there's deep innovations that we're making. The other key thing is System Center will be completely aligned to the release schedule of Windows Server as well. So in tandem, lockstep with Windows Server, you will see features of management that tie in deeply with the innovations that are being made in Windows Server concurrently being released. So you don't have to wait a year to get management for those facilities that are being innovated upon in Windows Server. Does that make sense? Now, with the cloud services and the OMS suite that we've released, you can bet that we will be making changes and innovations and fixing things to those cloud services every single day. They will continue to get better and better and better. You'll have some milestone releases of these cloud services, but essentially we will be innovating on top of all of these, and you'll see some lots of innovation go into them every quarter as well. So that's the other pivot. This is a drastically different way of Microsoft for shipping and servicing our products. The cloud services are self-explanatory, but even for the on-prem versions of the products that we have, we are going to be innovating on a quarterly cycle. Excuse me. So there have been a whole range of sessions at Ignite over the past few days that focused on different aspects of the System Center suite. Today, the focus on this session is all about the monitoring and troubleshooting across environments, which is the fundamental premise of what the Operations Manager and the OMS suite set of products do. So let's go dive into that specific area for the rest of the duration of this presentation. So Operations Manager, solid infrastructure, solid set of features that have, over the past 12 to 15 years, have been innovated upon. It is known and is one of the primary usage products that are in the System Center suite. It does a whole range of things in terms of monitoring your entire infrastructure, application monitoring as well. It has the notion of flexible management packs that are developed by Microsoft, by third parties, etc., that fall into that infrastructure. So we have a whole range of partners that work with us that innovate on top of Operations Manager and build solutions on top of it, contribute to management packs, and all of that stuff. And that is essentially the way it gets used for monitoring infrastructures today. We are expanding its breadth and reach by looking at different environments that it can monitor, right? We're going to stay current with innovations that are being made in Windows Server in the vNext release. We're going to do a whole range of additional monitoring with respect to Linux and the LAMP stack. We've got other services like Office 365, etc. So we are innovating across all these things to make Operations Manager the central place for all of your monitoring needs, whether these applications and things that you're monitoring live within your enterprise boundaries or across your enterprise boundaries in the hybrid as well as the public cloud environments. So what do those investments sort of look like in what we have today and what we're releasing in our upcoming set of update roll-ups? Well, I'd like you to think about these investments as in terms of 3 or 4 different pillars. There are workloads that we're going to monitor, that Operations Manager is going to monitor. With Operations Manager, you'll be able to monitor your Azure environment. If you have a subscription to Azure, you have multiple subscriptions to Azure, all of the services that you subscribe under those subscriptions to Azure and your applications, etc., that are there, you can monitor within your Operations Manager environment. We've created an Azure Management Pack that does that, and that is something that Richard will demo as a part of his the suite of demos that he's going to show today. So just think about that. You're within your enterprise boundary running Operations Manager, and you're monitoring your cloud assets that are in Azure. We'll also be doing things with respect to other cloud providers and so on as we continue to go forward with our investments that we're making. We have a management pack for SQL, for Exchange, for Office 365. We continue to build on our management packs that we have for System Center core set of products, so we're innovative on the VMM management pack as well. Windows Server vNext. So next week you will get all the bits with respect to Windows Server and System Center in a preview state. And in that, there's a whole range of new things that are coming up in Windows. One of those specifically is Windows Storage. There's a feature called Storage Spaces Direct, and that's another one where we've built a new management pack that Richard will show as a part of the set of demos that we'll look at. I want to tell you that we're going to expand our reach into Linux and the LAMP stack and extend the monitoring for that, because we definitely know that all these heterogeneous environments exist. We have a LAMP monitoring management pack, and that's also something that Richard will show us. One of the things that many of you folks have told us is that the process of discovering what sort of management packs are available, etc., is very difficult to do. And, about 3 years ago, I think, we abdicated responsibility of a feature called MP Catalog that gave you an idea of all the different types of management packs that were available. Well, today, we've listened to all that feedback. We are going to reinvest in MP Catalog. We're going to aggregate all the different disparate sources of management pack information that exists, and you'll be able to see and visualize all those results of those management pack availability, etc., within the console of Operations Manager. So, I don't know why that happened or how it happened and so on, but MP Catalog is something that we're resurrecting. We're under new management now, I guess. So. We're also looking at features like, taking objects, etc., that exist and putting them into a scheduled maintenance mode. You couldn't do it in a very well-defined manner, on a scheduled manner during this time and so on. So we're adding that capability into our update roll-up feature, and then you'll see that also demoed today. Modern management needs to give you information in a rapid manner. Modern management has to have a visually appealing display. We've made some innovations in several of our management packs and dashboards that are very, very visually appealing and that sit within the context of the Operations Manager console. And we'll show you some of those as well. That whole section on log analytics is really about everything we've done from a product team perspective in laying the framework and the infrastructure down for creating OMS. Right? So if you've heard of System Center Advisor, System Center Operational Insights, etc., OMS is the new moniker for it, and that is the durable moniker that will stay through as we go forward. It is sort of the universal aggregation of all these services that we're going to ship. There's another thing that we're doing. So with respect, we have so many partners to Operations Manager today. Many of you as customers have told us, we don't even know what sort of partner solutions exist that sit on top of Operations Manager. What do they do? Are they for visualizations? Are they for new management packs and all of these things? So we have reached out to a whole range of our partners that build management packs, as well as our partners that build solutions that sit on top of Operations Manager. One of the features that we will deliver to you over the next probably couple of UR cycles is within the administration console of Operations Manager, you will have the ability to take free versions of partner applications or time-bound versions of partner applications as trial software. We'll embed them into the framework of our administration console. So when you install the latest UR from OM, you'll be able to see a range of partner solutions in our first sort of step forward of partners that have chosen to participate with us in terms of getting free and trial versions of their software within the framework of OM. It's more of a visibility sort of feature that just tells you here are some partners that build solutions on top of OM. Here are the features that you can use. If you like them and so on, please contact the partner and then get their premium versions or get their licenses for their software. But you'll get visibility. So two big things: visibility towards all the management packs that exist through MP Catalog, visibility of partner solutions and other assets that fit on top of the OM infrastructure will be definitely seen from within the body of the OM console. Does that make sense? I'm going to sort of hand it over to Richard, who will walk us through a whole sequence of demos. I hope from a strategy standpoint this sort of makes sense. Continued innovation in OM, these are the key takeaways. Continued innovation in OM on-premise, spread the breadth of monitoring across cloud boundaries, continue to invest in our partner program, and then continue to deliver features on a rapid cloud cadence, both in our cloud services as well as our infrastructure components. All right, Richard?
Great. Thanks, Nagenda.
Yeah.
So let's, I see a few of you are taking photographs of screens. Give you a quick moment if you want to take a photograph of this. This is like the summary of all of the investments that we're going to be making over the next sort of 12 months or so. You can see that as part of Windows Server 2016, all of the management packs get updated. We're doing some work with attached services, the workload monitoring updates, and a number of ease of use improvements. So I know you're all sitting out there wishing that Operations Manager ran a little bit faster. We are looking to make some incremental performance improvements through the update roll-up process. So that doesn't mean that you're going to get an update roll-up and suddenly everything works snappier. But each update roll-up should make some targeted performance improvements that accumulate and give you a better experience there. All right, so I want to talk about some of the investments we're doing around Windows Server. So one thing you wouldn't have heard of, but probably fairly eager for, is in Windows Server 2012 R2, there is storage spaces. And it's been available for a little while. What's been missing is the management pack. So at the end of April, so just a couple of weeks ago, we actually released the management pack for storage spaces in Windows Server 2012 R2. As part of Windows Server 2016, I mentioned the updates for all of the server roles and feature management packs. You'll have also heard about the Nano version of Windows Server. We're actually doing updates to both the management packs and also the agent, so that the agent can actually run on Nano Server and do the rich monitoring that you expect from Operations Manager. One of the big things we're doing as part of the 2016 release wave, though, is support for Storage Spaces Direct. So Storage Spaces Direct brings in the directly attached storage instead of the shared attached storage that's in Storage Spaces today. And as part of doing that, we've used the opportunity to have a little bit of a rethink about the way that we're doing our monitoring for storage. So currently, our storage management packs are very focused on putting all of that logic into Operations Manager and the management pack. So we think about the topology and the update roll-up rules, and just a lot of logic goes in there. It makes for a very complicated management pack. It has to try and anticipate all of the different topologies that you deploy to. For the 2016 release, we've said, well, let's think about this. Storage spaces and the storage subsystem, that actually understands really well the health of the storage system. It understands whether a single disk failure is bad because that was the last copy of data, or if it's actually just something that you need to get around to replacing a disk in the next couple of months or so because there's still actually 3 other copies and there's not a service impact. It understands that when there is a storage node that goes down, which shares and workloads are being affected by it. So what we've done is we're leveraging that knowledge that's in the storage subsystem, and the storage subsystem is actually passing that information up into Operations Manager. And so I actually want to take a moment and do a demonstration of that for you. So here I have Operations Manager, and you can see I'm here in the storage monitoring dashboard. There's a view for active alerts. There's a view for file shares. I'm looking at the storage health view. And so the storage health is being broken down into the storage subsystem, file shares, and volumes, because these are really the 3 main things that are important when we're talking about storage. So as you can see, everything looks healthy at the moment. I'm going to come through. I'm actually going to stop one of the cluster nodes. And so I'm just going to use some PowerShell to bring that cluster node down. And now, if I go back to Operations Manager, it's not instantaneous. I mean, Operations Manager is still waiting for that data flow to come through. But within about a minute or so, what we're going to see is an alert come up here as Operations Manager detects that the storage node has gone down. And so you can see I can select the storage node. And if I have a look at the alert properties here, it actually tells me the information I need to know about this alert. So it says that the server cannot be reached, which makes sense because the storage is down. And then if I look further down in the alert description, what I can see is the faulting object description. It tells me the storage appliance server. And then it gives me a recommended action. And so in this case, it's start the server or replace the storage server if it's the result of a failure. So since I stopped the storage server, what I'm going to do is go ahead and start the storage server. So we go ahead, again, we start the storage cluster, and then we give Operations Manager some time. It will detect that the storage node has come back up, and it will auto-resolve that alert. So you don't need to go and manually close the alert in Operations Manager. It just sort of, it'll close itself as you've gone and replaced a disk or brought a storage node back up. So there you can see, I've now cleared out my alerts, and I'm back to the a healthy state again. So that's the investment we're doing for storage spaces and storage monitoring. The next thing I want to talk about is our workload monitoring. And hopefully everyone knows about the Office 365 Management Pack. Everyone using the Office 365 Management Pack? Yeah, good. So that was released back in July of last year. We did an update earlier this year. Pulls in health information about your Office 365 environment. The Azure Management Pack was released 2013, I think. Since then, a lot has changed in Azure. And we've been getting a lot of feedback about the limitations that are in the current Azure Management Pack. So we are currently in development for an updated version of the Management Pack. And we've focused on addressing a lot of the key issues that we've heard about for the current version. So the first one is, since 2013, there's a lot more Azure services that have been released. In fact, it feels like Azure's releasing about a new service every month or so. And so we're a number of services behind there. The updated Management Pack is actually going to automatically discover new services. So as Azure releases a service and they onboard to the standard monitoring APIs, this Management Pack will actually be able to do the monitoring for that. The other thing is, so if you have, I've met a couple of people on the floor this week, they've got site-to-site VPNs or ExpressRoute. If you're in that environment, great. Go ahead, install the Operations Manager agent on your virtual machines, do your monitoring, works great. For the other Azure services, or even for the Azure VMs that you aren't directly connected to, we can do agentless monitoring of those Azure services. So we actually go ahead and query through the public APIs for Azure to pull back that information. The next big investment we've done in this Management Pack is the current one uses certificate-based authentication. Who's struggled through that certificate process, setting up certificates for the Management Pack? Yeah, that was not a lot of fun. Make cert, upload here, upload there. So we've actually moved to Azure Active Directory. Every Azure subscription comes with Azure Active Directory. You don't need to connect it through ADFS to your on-premises AD. You don't need, it's just there as part of the subscription. So you can actually go ahead and make use of that. And then we have a wizard for doing the data collection, because the other piece of information we heard was authoring was really hard. We had people saying, I can't collect additional perf counters for web and worker roles. It's like, how do I do that? And it wasn't easy. So we've gone ahead and made changes for how to do that. So now what I want to show you is the sort of the quick couple of minute view of the Azure, what we're doing for the Azure Management Pack. So the first thing you'll see here is I've got a resource state view. As you deploy your resources into Azure, they all belong to a group. And so those resource groups we're able to discover and do roll-up health monitors. So we can actually give you an overall view of the health of your Azure environment there. We naturally have a resource performance view. So for all of the perf counters that we collect, we go ahead and can show you those perf counters. And you can see down here that we've got virtual machines and Azure websites and a number of perf counters that are showing up as part of that. So let's have a look at what we need to do to actually go ahead and set up that monitoring to be able to pull that back. So what we've done is we've added a monitoring wizard for this. So I can click on the wizard, go through, click next. We'll give this a name, my Azure monitoring demo. It's always a good practice to put your customizations into a management pack of their own. I also strongly recommend it for the Azure Management Pack, because what's going to happen is at the end of this wizard, it's actually going to create a lot of monitoring rules. In fact, when I ran it on my environment, it created a management pack with about 6,500 lines of XML. So you definitely want to get that into its own management pack. Because the nice thing then is you can do the edits to the management pack and you can actually go and import it into other systems. And so you can do the generation in one system and then deploy it in another. So if you've got a development environment and a production environment, you can do the configuration in development, generate your rules, move that up into the production environment. I can then pick the subscription I've got access to. Because it's using Azure Active Directory, it prompts me for the password for the account. And then it goes out and actually looks for all of the services that are available and are exposed. And so you can actually see right away there's a lot more services here than is covered by the existing management pack. I've got mobile services here. We've got automation accounts. We've got DocumentDB. Microsoft Insights is actually the Application Insights functionality. So for those of you that are using Application Insights as part of Visual Studio, they have got a crazy large number of counters that get exposed that we'll see in a moment, but they're all available here. BizTalk services, virtual machines are obviously here, networks, storage accounts, SQL servers, SQL Azure, web servers, and websites are all here and all able to be discovered and monitored. So if I come ahead and I select all of my services, it'll now go through and discover the perf counters that are available. So I was talking about how many perf counters there are. So let's have a look. So mobile services exposes 2. Automation doesn't expose anything. DocumentDB has 9. Application Insights has 22. Let's have a quick scroll through here. Quite a few there. The GSM web tests, so the outside-in web tests through Application Insights, they are exposed here as well. Virtual machines, there's 5 counters there, exposed by default. CPU, network in, network out, disk read writes. SQL Server, we've got another 10 counters here. Web servers, another 6, and then websites, another 15. So that's just a huge number of counters that are automatically there. And as services add new counters, the management pack will be able to automatically set it. So that's great. We can find all of that. Now let's say that I want to set up, do some collection of my average response time for a website. So there's a single click, say, collect the data. I actually want to do an alert as well. So another check to say, do an alert, and then I can set up a greater than or less than alert. So I can actually say, if my website has a response time of more than 5 seconds, generate an alert for me. And so I can go through and do that for all of the perf counters that are exposed. I can do just straight up collection, or I can also go ahead and do the alert rules as well. So we're just going to go ahead and do that, click Next, and then go ahead and click Create, and that'll go off and generate a management pack. That process takes a little while, so I'm not going to use the rest of the demo time to show you that piece because that gets a little long. But we're working on sort of making some perf improvements there. But that is as simple as it will be for the new Azure monitoring pack. So hopefully that sounds good for folks. Sounds good? Yeah. All right, next. So the old Microsoft only knew about Windows. The new Microsoft's been changing for a while. We recognize that, especially for enterprises, it's not just Windows in your environment. So there's a couple of investments that I want to talk about for this. The first is networking. So the Windows networking team are actually doing some work for doing better monitoring of networking, and they'll be doing integration with Operations Manager so that we can update our network monitoring capability in Operations Manager. I know for a lot of you, you're looking for us to do increased investments in the network monitoring, and so working with the Windows networking team, we're actually making some improvements there. And then Nagenda also spoke a little bit earlier about our LAMP stack investments. So what I want to show you today is the first round of that, which is the Apache and MySQL monitoring. Obviously, there's also the existing Java and Tomcat JBoss monitoring that's there. The monitoring can be customized with scripts. And then for the Operations Manager agent install, we've got native packages for agent install as well. So this is not the original add-on monitoring for sort of non-Windows devices that you saw in the 2007 time range. This is treating cross-platform as a first-class citizen. So I'm going to do this. If you were up early this morning and weren't hungover from the party last night, you could have gone and seen a deep dive on this at 9 o'clock this morning. If you missed out, go get the recorded session. Christopher Bash does a really great deep dive into the LAMP monitoring work. I'm just going to show you the quick version. All right, so back here in Operations Manager, this is just the standard Unix, Linux view. You can see here I've got a spot for Apache servers, and here I've got an active alert. Let's have a look at this. So this is telling me that my virtual host's SSL certificate will expire soon. Let's have a look at the knowledge for this. And so automatically we're doing monitoring for your SSL certificate expiry as part of Apache we'll do an error threshold at 7 days before the expiration and a warning at 21 days. Obviously, this is a standard management pack, so you can do an override if your organization needs a longer or shorter period of time, you can go ahead and override those. So we've got the monitoring piece there. Let's have a look what else we've got. So we've got a dashboard view for your total requests per second, the top amount of data that's coming in. We can see unhealthy servers, unhealthy virtual hosts, and any active alerts. So this is a really good kind of just a single-stop view of finding out the health of your Apache servers. You can actually have a look at a server-by-server breakdown too. So I can see I've got 2 servers here. One of them's in a warning state. You can see where the configuration is. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, you can see we're actually pulling back a lot of properties, which includes the list of installed modules. So I can actually go ahead and see a lot of the modules that are installed on the servers. And on the right-hand side over here, you can actually see we've got a series of tasks related to those servers as well. So I can do a reload or a restart. I can unload the monitoring. I can update the discovered properties. So this is quite well integrated into the Operations Manager. I've also got a view of my virtual hosts. And so you can see that I've got 3 virtual hosts split across those 2 servers. Naturally, we had a look at the certificate errors before, but I can see all of my certificates. And then I've also got this view of performance data that I can do as well. And let's have a look. So we've got quite the number of performance counters that are available for us. Let's see if we can skip through some of this other stuff. We've got the additional views here. What I want to get down to is actually the MySQL as well. So for MySQL, again, we've got an alerts view. Now, in your environment, when you install the MySQL, you're not going to see this alert. This alert is actually special. You can extend the monitoring for MySQL using a stored procedure. And this is an example of an alert that was generated from a stored procedure. So if you need to do additional monitoring, additional custom monitoring, you can go ahead and extend the MySQL monitoring using stored procedures. I can also have a look at my databases and see which ones, the health of my databases. I can see I've got 4 different databases. 3 aren't monitored, 1's critical. That doesn't seem like a good state. Again, I've got this dashboard view, so I can see an all-up view of my environment. And then I've got a view of my servers, and one of the things I can do with the servers is view a diagram of my servers as well. And so I can see on this server, this is, we saw earlier the view that there was 4 databases on this particular server, but here is a diagram representation of the databases running on those servers. So this is what we've got for LAMP stack monitoring. And our cross-platform team is going to continue to invest in our LAMP stack monitoring as we go forward. So I spoke a little bit about our ease of use investments, faster performance. We particularly know the console's not always really snappy to do displays. We also want to drive down drive down what's commonly called alert noise. So we're focusing on how we can make alerts more actionable. And again, just spoke about the MP catalog. The next one I want to talk about is SQL dashboards. Can I get you? Sorry. While I start to talk about SQL dashboards, Liz, I'm going to plug Liz's session on Wednesday morning. I'm doing a pretty quick tour of a lot of these, but Liz did a dashboarding session on Wednesday morning and did a great job of demoing the capabilities of the current dashboards and a fuller version of the dashboard overview that I'm about to give. So last year, the SQL team released a SQL management pack and it had some great visualization in it. And we heard how much everyone loved the visualization in the SQL dashboard. They loved it so much they told us that all management packs should have visualization like the SQL management pack. Unfortunately, with that version of the SQL management pack, it was custom to SQL. There wasn't an easy way for us to make those visualizations available for everyone. The SQL team heard that feedback as well. They're in the process of updating their management pack. Their new management pack actually allows any group to be targeted towards their dashboards. So let's go through and have a quick look at how that pans out. So I'm going to go ahead and create a SQL dashboard. So choose SQL Server Dashboard, click on Next, give this a name. So a couple of clicks, I go ahead, creates a visualization widget. Told you about the Operations Manager performance piece. Okay, we created our dashboard. We have a blank canvas. Let's add some stuff to our canvas. This acts as a single widget. Let's make some room for this. And so the existing dashboards, you go through and add multiple widgets. This really acts as just one big widget. So let's go through and pick some groups. Let's go find our DNS servers. D for DNS. DNS servers. So bang, select my DNS servers group, and I now have a view of my DNS servers. All right, so that's good for my existing on-premises ones. Let's go through. Let's go do something for Office. So actually, let's do Azure websites. So with the Azure Management Pack, because that's creating groups and classes that are understandable for Operations Manager, we can actually go ahead and create a group that contains our Azure websites as well. And so we can then go ahead and add that to our dashboard. And let's round this out and do one more group. Let's go and get our Office 365. So this is, you can see this works for not only on-premises and groups. I'm not even going to show SQL Server here. Office 365. But we're pulling in Azure and Office 365 into our dashboard. And so we've now got our dashboard view. It's very easy for us to do some alert customizations. So there you can see we've got some very simple, very quick, easy ways to pull up dashboards. If you want to get the deeper dive into this, showing how monitors and performance data gets added to the dashboards, Liz's session from Wednesday is a great way to do that. So SQL dashboards, based on just computer groups, available for everything. The next thing I want to talk about, that when you download the Technical Preview 2 bits for System Center 2016, is a feature called Scheduled Maintenance Mode. We know that currently people, you're just creating maintenance mode just before maintenance starts, or you're doing it programmatically. There's no way to set recurring schedules, unless you go and buy a third-party add-on piece for it, which you can do, and it's actually quite good. But we're actually bringing that into the base product. So for future and recurring maintenance, we can do that within Operations Manager. So let's do a quick demo of maintenance mode. So here I am back in the Operations Manager console. This is a TP2 technical preview build. It's just as simple as saying create schedule. I can do it for selected objects or selected objects and their contained objects. So if you're doing it to a server and you want the SQL Server or the IIS website or the other roles that are running on that server to also go into maintenance mode, you can do that here. Let's go and add and remove our objects. We can do it for computers, or in my case, a computer group. Let's do a quick search for my computer groups. Let's do it, so we were showing cross-plat earlier. Let's do it for my Unix and Linux computers. Click OK. Step through the wizard. And so you can see that my options are once, so just in the future as a one-off, every day, recurring every one day or on a slightly different cadence. I could do it weekly. Or I could do it monthly. I'm going to inject a little bit of Windows Super Tuesday, as I've heard it called, behavior for my Unix and Linux folks here. So the first Tuesday of every 1 month, let's go ahead and create a maintenance schedule for that. Give it a name. This is going to be planned maintenance for operating system reconfiguration. And then I can go ahead, click that. I've now gone ahead and created a maintenance schedule. And that's going to go ahead and put those objects into those computers in my Linux and Unix computer group into maintenance on the first Tuesday of every month. Good. This is I like this form of feedback. This is good. Yes. Yeah. I know. I know. Sometimes it feels like it takes us a long time to get the feedback. So it's always nice when we do that.
Not anymore.
Yeah. We're trying to change that, make that a little quicker.
When will that schedule maintenance be available?
So it's in the technical preview 2 builds right now. We're looking to bring it back into the 2012 R2 version as well, so you don't have to wait so it's not just an upgrade-only thing. PowerShell for it. So I think right now the interfaces for that are a little bit just through the UI, but yeah, I mean, we do need to round that out, so it is PowerShell. Yep.
That's in the admin behind, which means a lot of operators will have access to it.
Yes, that's the other. So we've shown this to a couple of people already, and the other piece of feedback is we want to make it so that people other than admins can set up schedules. But right now it's in the admin pane, which means you do need to be an admin to create the schedule. I want to take a quick moment to talk about CPS. If you saw the CPS rack out on the show floor, how many? Who's buying a CPS rack? Great. So the CPS rack, we know that it's not quite for everyone. It's a fairly big environment. But the upside is that because we've worked on it as a stack and end-to-end, we actually did a lot of work to make Operations Manager do the monitoring for CPS, and we took a lot of the learnings from the tuning work that we did for CPS and brought them back into the existing management packs and into the existing product. So there's over 70 MP fixes across 14 different management packs that got updated as part of this. And all you have to do is stay current with your update roll-ups and you get those learnings from CPS. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about, you would have heard from the keynote onwards, was attached services, and in particular the Operations Management Suite. That's not just a cloud-based solution. And so, in fact, until November of last year, the Operational Insights, the precursor to the Operations Management Suite, only worked as an attach for System Center Operations Manager. You needed Operations Manager to even get a foot in the game. And so as a result, there's actually specific things in what was, sorry, I'm still struggling with the name change, what was in Operational Insights, now the Operations Management Suite, that is specific to Operations Manager. So there's the log analytics that's there. It has a security IP, which you should see as you should view that as a cloud-based version of ACS. So if you're looking at ACS at the moment, you may want to look at the Operations Management Suite as a cloud-based version of ACS. We're pulling in perf counters now. One of the things that's specific to System Center, though, is our VMM capacity planning. So you need to have Operations Manager and VMM, and we'll actually do capacity planning for your VMM environment. We'll make some predictions. We feed a whole bunch of data up into HD Insight, crunch it around a little bit, and then make some projections around when you're going to run out of cores, disk, or storage. Sorry, disk and storage are the same thing. Cores, disk, or memory is the third one. Cores, disk, or memory, and we'll work out when you're going to run out of one of those three things and need additional capacity for your environment. The other one is the alert management piece. So let me do a quick look at how easy it is to add operational insights. Now, if you want to do a deep dive into Operational Insights or the Operations Management Suite. There were a ton of sessions this week. I would start with the Thursday 9 a.m. log analytics and visualization as a good spot to start. So let me do a quick demo of how easy it is to get started with Operational Insights, the Operations Management Suite. So here, back in the admin console, if you're up to the correct UR level, you'll actually get a spot here called Operational Insights. If you've got an older update roll-up level, it'll be called System Center Advisor. And if you're not at the right roll-up level, it won't be there at all. But you can go through, sign in with a Microsoft account. Let's quickly log into this. You create the workspace through the Operations Management Portal, and then from within the console here, it provides a drop-down. So if I've got multiple, I can do a drop-down here and select from multiple. I go ahead, click Next, click Create, it saves, it's now connected. Now, you may not want all of your servers reporting up into Operational Insights, and that's fine, because what we can do is we have the concept of an Operation Insights managed computer group. And so through this interface, you can go ahead and add into Operations Manager. So I'll put you to the demos for the Operational Insights sessions for going deeper on each of those. What I'd like to talk a little bit more about now, actually, you want to come back and talk about Nagenda? Yeah. Is some of the work that we're doing with our partners.
So, System Center.
It's not on yet.
Is this on? Yeah. So we have a whole range of partners that we work with that build solutions on top of our platform. The thing that you can see with OM is it's a comprehensive monitoring platform, and we intend to keep it that way and continue innovating on the platform as we go forward. And we have partners that fulfill the needs of customers through, higher level set of services that sit atop of this platform. So to that end, I'd like to introduce Richard Benwell, who's from Squared Up, one of the original founders. And I will let Richard talk about Squared Up.
All right, thanks, Nagenda. Great, thank you. Thanks to you guys for some really cool new developments coming on Ops Manager. I guess we're all pretty excited, pretty happy to see scheduled maintenance mode and some of those other things really come into Ops Manager. That's really cool. And I guess a lot of you guys here have been at the show looking at OMS a lot and the future roadmap as well. Right, really exciting. What I wanted to do. Can I get the clicker here somewhere?
What's that? The clicker is here.
All right, great. So what I wanted to do is just spend 5 or 10 minutes showing you guys what we have at Squared Up, which is a way of modernizing your existing on-prem System Center Operations Manager deployment. So I guess you're all excited about some of the things coming down on the roadmap from Azure. This is all about taking what you have currently now and making it work for all of your users within your IT organization. So Squared Up is an HTML5 user experience for Operations Manager. It's across the board, an HTML5 presentation layer that modernizes Ops Manager. It's dashboards, but also all of those drill downs, all of the sort of complete views around Ops Manager and all of the tasks in Ops Manager as well, available in a really lightweight, easy to use, super fast web console. It's not a heavyweight investment. It's a seamless extension on top of Ops Manager. There are no new databases to install. There's no changes to Ops Manager, no new management packs even, certainly no new services. And on the client side, there's nothing to install. It's all HTML5. So all browsers, all mobiles, all devices, straight out of the box. And it's not just Ops Manager that we're trying to work with. Monitoring is not just about Ops Manager. There's a lot of challenges around monitoring. There are a lot of tools out there to help you. and there are a lot of Microsoft tools that can help you. It's not just Operations Manager. We have useful information in Visio, for example, that you use during kind of the design and development phases of applications. You have tools like Excel. All of your IT engineers familiar with Excel, familiar with working with data in Excel. And also, of course, SharePoint, in terms of getting that information out to beyond just your IT organization, out to your end users, your enterprise users as well. And it's this combination of tools that I actually wanted to give you a quick demo of, and how we can combine those together to really create a sort of kind of seamless experience across a set of tools with data flowing from Visio through into an HTML5 dashboard, taking data out of Ops Manager, getting that out into Excel, and also publishing out to SharePoint as well. So Visio application architecture diagrams, maybe a little bit like this. Someone spent a long time mapping out an application in extensive detail. You can see here a server has a lot of information, a lot of sort of information from your CMDB, IP address, spec, and so on. So these diagrams like this are typically created during that design and planning phase of an application. Okay, it takes a long time. A lot of investment goes into it. And then at the point where that application is deployed, this diagram typically just goes on the shelf. It goes on a network share somewhere. It's typically instantly out of date, because actually when you deploy an application like this, things change. And certainly it's out of date in the long run, because no one's looking back at this diagram when you're operating that application. So with changes going on, no one's going back and finding this. No one's making those changes. You might have maybe sort of more modern diagrams like this, using some of the nice stencils available from the Office team. Maybe looking at sort of more of a higher level picture of those applications. So we've got sort of kind of just the process flow down the bottom there, and sort of some of the kind of security on the side. What I wanted to show you is how we can take one of these diagrams, and instead of it going on the shelf, we're going to pull it into an HTML5 dashboard, combine it with monitoring data from Ops Manager, and actually make it come alive and useful and relevant whilst you're operating that application. So I'm going to start with just a sort of simpler application like this. The benefit of Visio is I don't really need to tell you much about this application. You can see it's a load-balanced web app with a few back-end servers. You can see as well we have already some data in on each of those shapes. So I'm just going to switch over to Squared Up. Now we've dropped Squared Up, the HTML5 presentation layer on top of SCOM, and now we're ready to create dashboards on top of that. So first of all, I'm just going to select status here and find the group of servers that I want to add into that Visio diagram. So I've already got a group in Ops Manager called CRM servers. It contains 5 servers. We can see server 2 is red. Okay, so that's a good start. We know there's a problem. But this is a typical health state view where you don't have the context of what server 2 is. You have no context. You've lost all of that context that you created with the Visio diagram. And now actually when you're monitoring this application, you don't have that to hand. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this into an actual a Visio-based dashboard. So I'm just going to hit the export button here on the side. And what that's going to do is just download a very simple Excel spreadsheet containing those 5 servers and, most importantly, the IDs of those monitored objects in SCOM. I'm just going to go back to Visio. Now, using just standard Visio functionality, we don't have any new Visio plugins. This is all just out-of-the-box Visio functionality. I'm going to select Link Data to Shapes, and then select that Excel workbook. I'm just going to browse to my downloads here and grab that export. That comes into Visio. Now, you may or may not be sort of familiar with this, but this is just kind of generally how you're attaching your data to your shapes. Now we have the SCOM monitored objects down here, and to attach them to our shapes, we simply have to drag them on. So essentially what we're doing is we're taking this Visio diagram and now associating it with our monitored objects in SCOM. I'm doing this with servers, but we could do this with any monitored object. This could be databases, this could be application pools, this could be Azure instances, this could be Watcher nodes that are actually checking the health of something over a connection. just going to turn off those data graphics and clean it back up again. But essentially all we've done is taken that Visio diagram we had already and added in the ID of the monitored object. Really, really simple to do. Certainly this is one way to do it. There's lots of other ways to do it through sort of scripting and database import as well. And that's it. We've now got our Visio diagram ready to become a dashboard. So instead of going on the shelf, all we're going to do is we're going to export it here. We're going to export it as SVG, Scalable Vector Graphics. So same data, same shapes, same shape data, but ready for the web. So I'm just going to select that and hit Save As. And we can see now it is ready for the web. It's loaded up in the browser, so that's a preview, where we don't have the monitored data. So let's switch back to Squared Up. I'm going to change now, instead of just the health status, I'm going to change to a Visio diagram. It asks us to drop in an SVG. So let's just go to the folder where we saved that off and drag it in. It gets uploaded to the Squared Up web server and then rendered in the browser. And there you go. Associated with the monitored data in SCOM, we can now see that that web server is red. Okay, so not just server 2, it's the web server on our front-end load-balanced servers. Instead of just icons, we can do color replace. And we'll see in a second a little bit more sort of what we can do with that. And just with a few clicks, you've got a really kind of high impact, very visual, Visio-based dashboard. To that, we can start now enriching this dashboard with other data from Ops Manager. Okay, I think Richard just then and Nagenda as well sort of talked about all of that data in Operations Manager with all these new management packs coming out, sort of Azure support, all those performance counters you can put into Azure. It's a huge amount you can put in. It's all sitting there in Operations Manager. It's all ready to go and be used in dashboards and pushed out to your IT teams who actually really need access to this data. So I'm just going to scope my performance section again to my CRM servers. I can have a graph, spark line. In this case, I'm having a bar graph there. And I'm going to make sure that even if a low disk space alert is overlooked, if someone comes to this dashboard, they'll be able to spot really quickly that a server has low disk space. On top of that, I'm just going to add in some alerts for the same group of servers here. And we even integrate with the service level tracking in Ops Manager, which obviously you can use at a distributed application level. Here I'm just going to show actually the uptime of these servers. There you go. Let's just rebalance that. That dashboard's ready to go. I'm going to publish it out into my navigation bar at the top here. So any user logging on, let me just rename that. Any user logging on to Squared Up can get to this dashboard. And I'm also going to make this the dashboard for the CRM distributed application. So if anyone's looking at the CRM distributed application, if they get to it via any means, browsing around the dashboards, they'll get to this sort of this end-to-end application dashboard. So I'm ready to publish, and that's done. We've now taken that Visio diagram, pushed it into an HTML5 dashboard, enriched it with all the other Operations Manager data we have available to us as well. Now, the Visio integration is not just for your sort of existing application diagrams. Visio is a great design tool. You can use it to design anything you want, like put in images, shapes, you name it. So if you want to create a pretty service status dashboard, this is like not so pretty, but it's a good start. You can do that with Visio, and we've just done the same thing. We've just mapped that to, in this case, our synthetic transactions running against each of these applications. So we can see that CRM is red. Now, typically, with this sort of dashboard, we want to use this, for example, in our NOC or in our sort of service desk. So we can do that just by clicking in an embeddable version here and just test that link and full screen it. So that's something we can put up on a big monitor. But this dashboard also has a great use to push out to our users across the enterprise. So when CRM is down, instead of all your users hitting that and then phoning up the service desk and reporting that, we can publish this out to our users. And we do that very simply with our SharePoint integration. Again, no new SharePoint plugins. This is just a vanilla Office 365 SharePoint site. We've just taken that dashboard, push it out into SharePoint. It's kind of read-only, non-interactive, so all your users can see the CRM is down. They don't, they're not the people who are going to be drilling into this and working out what's going wrong, but everyone now has visibility of that. So the people who do need to drill into this and work out what's going wrong can do. So CRM is red. I can click on this, and what you'll see is that all of the dashboards we create are all linked together. So your sort of Visio diagrams now not only come alive and become real operational dashboards, they're all linked together based on kind of what you're browsing to. So CRM is red. We can see that the web server is red. We can click on the web server, and we'll get down to kind of the server level health view. From here now, we might want to put this into maintenance mode, kind of the on-demand flavor, right? Not the scheduled flavor. We want to say, right, quick, we need to do some work on this. Let's put it into maintenance mode. We can also take actions. All of the actions available in the SCOM console flow through into the HTML5 presentation layer and squared up. So without having to RDP into that server, without having to log on, we've now got kind of full visibility over what's running on that server. In this case, we can also see we've got a low memory alert, and we've got a Spark line here. So we can drill into that Spark line and connect to the data warehouse seamlessly. No need to go off to the reporting console. No need to jump on the phone and ask my ops manager admin for a report. I've got access to it myself. And because I'm connected to the data warehouse, I have access to typically a full year's worth or 400 days worth of data. I have the ability to drill down into maybe an area of interest, and also just to kind of pull out that other tool that we mentioned up front, Excel. Like typically, if I want to do some more analysis on this, my favorite tool is going to be Excel. So one click, export, open up, and we get it in Excel. Now we get the data. So we have the raw data there. That's coming straight from the Ops Manager data warehouse through Squared Up into Excel. And we also draw the graph for you. So first of all, you're confident it's the same data, but also now putting, for example, a forecast on this is just one click away. Add trend line, forward forecast. So instead of having to kind of work with or even kind of dig around or ask for that data from Ops Manager, it's unlocked, right? It's now available to all of your users within your IT organization. So just to recap, we took Visio diagrams. We took all of that context, all of that effort, all of that detail that's available in the Visio diagram, pulled that into a dashboard. So we've got the data out of Visio. I guess all you guys here have Visio diagrams like that. Now that's available, that data, to pull into your IT operations. We enriched it with all of that data that's available in SCOM, all that data you can get into SCOM. We then published that out to SharePoint, so you can get that out to not just your IT users, but also your enterprise users as well. And lastly, we got that data through back into Excel, which is where you can do a whole lot more with it, outside of the sort of typical monitoring tools you'd use. So hopefully you can see just a presentation layer on Ops Manager, no new data, really sort of seamlessly extending it to provide just a kind of complete solution for using all that monitoring data day to day, and not just as an administrator, for all of your IT teams finally to get to that data and for them to use that data effectively. If you missed us during the week at the booth, in the expo, there's loads more information on squaredup.com, and we're also around for the rest of the day. So again, if you missed us, come up and grab us, ask any questions you have. Otherwise, I'm going to hand back to Nagenda.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Thanks.
Squared Up has been a great partner with us, with Operations Manager, and as you can see, built rich visualizations that tie into the assets that you have in terms of rich presentation of all the IT information that's stored in our platform. So thank you very much, Richard. Yeah. I'm going to close with a few takeaways for you that I sort of introduced in the beginning of the presentation. Look, monitoring is a space that is rapidly changing. The System Center team is evolving to allow you to keep in touch and keep in tandem with those shifts that are happening across the federation of clouds that exists. We are continuing to innovate on our on-prem assets that we have with Operations Manager. We're building new cloud services. We're looking at hybrid scenarios. You'll start seeing more and more solutions happen in the cloud space. You'll see continued innovation on top of the existing platform that we have with Operations Manager, including breadth of things that you can monitor, rich, best-in-class management tool set for heterogeneous environments as well, and continue to build with our partners these rich sort of solutions that you can use. With that, I'm just going to end the presentation here. We can open up for questions. Can have Richard come up. Liz, you can come up as well. Thank you very much. If you really like the catalog features and the schedule maintenance features that, I heard all the applause, just stay tuned. They will appear in the current set of bits that you'll get next week, as well as the upcoming URs. You can see this constant drumbeat of innovation that you'll see in every single UR that we ship from now on. And we're looking forward to this, as I know you are. Thank you. There are mics in the room. Please feel free to come up and ask questions. We have a few minutes for that. Yes? Question, Mike?
Question? Okay.
Yes.
Can you talk more about the remote agents using Azure Active Directory for authentication and not a certificate?
You know about this?
You talk about in regards to the Azure monitoring?
Yeah, I believe you mentioned how like having agents outside of the domain, you'd have to use a certificate for authentication. That was kind of painful. But then you mentioned using Azure Active Directory for authentication instead. I was wondering if you could talk through that.
Sure. So for the Azure monitoring piece, what we're doing is actually agentless monitoring, and we use Azure Active Directory to connect to Azure. So that removes the need for you to actually install an agent and do anything. If you have a site-to-site VPN or an express route configured, because each of those really just extend your data center and therefore also your Active Directory into Azure, you can actually do a push the same as you would for anything else in your data center. So if you want to do agent-based site-to-site VPN or a express route, if you want agents but don't have either of those in place, then you still need to do the certificates with the gateways. And you can set up a gateway server in Azure that then reports back to your on-premises environment.
I was looking at the new Microsoft Management Agent, how it uses like a key instead.
You're talking about for the operations management server?
Right.
And yes.
Any thoughts about moving to that model instead of certificates?
We're not doing work on that at the moment, but yes, I do understand, and that's one of the things we did for Operational Insights was to simplify that initial certificate piece, was to provide a workspace ID and a key as the initial shared secret, and then they're actually doing a certificate-based authentication after that. So that workspace key and ID gets used just to do the initial negotiation.
Hi, my name's Tom Davis. The new dashboard that you showed, where is that available at? Without widgets. You showed one you don't have to add individual panes for widget. It was one you could fully customize?
Yeah, the big one that's fully customizable that'll come out with an update to the SQL management pack. Look for that this summer, this North American summer.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Gustavo Montes Joca. I used to work for Dell, and we were looking for an integration between SCCM and SCOM in terms of when you apply a patch on, for example, a server or something, there is a maintenance mode already set for that, and this would be applied automatically on SCOM. That was one thing that in past we used to believe that would work in some point, but we never saw any development in this direction. And my question is more regarding what are your expectations in terms of integration between SCCM and SCOM?
So the question is, Are you saying what are the areas of integration between SCCM and SCOM?
Yes.
So we're actively working with the SCCM team. We're working towards various scenarios, and some of those scenarios you will see come to life in our online services in the operations management suite, and we will continue to build on those scenarios and then bring them back into the on-prem versions. So there are scenarios. We are in planning for those things right now. We can't talk about it till we discuss some more internally within the groups.
Okay.
But these are actually relevant scenarios with respect to patching and monitoring, et cetera, that we will need to do as we put solutions out there into the OMS suite.
Okay, so patching is something that you are looking for.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's one of the main things that we hear all the time.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Jatin, and
Hi,
I work
yeah.
for Canadian Pacific Railways.
Yeah,
I have
Jatin.
Hey, I've got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
My first question is, what will be the roadmap of upgrade from 2012 to 2016 whenever it is released? How exactly we are going to upgrade?
Yeah. Okay. So from 2012 R2 to with all of our URs, et cetera, that we are constantly releasing on this quarterly cadence, it is always going to be an in-place upgrade. And similarly, the 2016 release also will be an in-place upgrade from 2012 R2. We have learned a big lesson with the 2007 to 2012 upgrade process that we will not make customers go through again.
So again, like you'll be releasing one UR and then it'll get upgraded to
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah.
My second question is, I've got a scenario in my company where I want to actually put a gateway server. We have got like 40 odd servers that we want to monitor, which are in a work group scenario, in a different kind of a VLAN.
Mm-hmm.
So can you guide me, like what will be the best scenario to monitor them?
Okay, that's a
So
little
I'll give you more
generic.
insight about this. It's
Yeah.
it's like, I've got like 5 or 6 VLANs that are there, and about 40 servers around. So one of my security team is like not ready to put it in a DMZ domain. So we don't have a DMZ domain as of now. All of those servers are lying in a work group.
Mm-hmm.
So, one strategy would be just go ahead and install certificates onto every single server, which is, how painful it is.
Yeah.
And going forward, when the company expands, it's again difficult to manage. So,
Yeah,
how do I do that?
I think we'd like to take this one offline and discuss more in detail on the scenario with you.
Thank you.
We'll take one more question. The gentleman there. Yeah.
Yes, hi, Stephen is my name. I apologize if this is already covered, but the scheduled maintenance mode, did you say that could or could not be manipulated by PowerShell?
Did we say it cannot be integrated by PowerShell? No, I don't think we said that.
I
We said it's
didn't- I
only in
wasn't
the
sure.
user interface today. We will make that facility available to you through PowerShell, likelihood in the next UR.
Great, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much, folks. If there are other questions, we're willing to take them outside. Happy to discuss a little bit more. Thank you.